This is the Parent Portal Show.
You've seen prices rise from the dinner table to the pump, but Allstate agents are seeing ways to save you money on insurance. From starting a new policy to bundling coverage or even driving safely, Allstate agents know how to maximize your savings. They'll share their knowledge as they help you personalize your coverage. Because when it comes to seeing all the ways to save, Allstate agents do it best.
Mike Hammer has over 35 years as an Austin area Allstate agent. Call 512-343-6994 or visit mikehammer@allstate.com.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, welcome back to the Parent Portal Show. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel. Subscribe. And you can email us at Stephen@parentportalshow.com or James@parentportalshow.com. So, Coach, we're going to turn to the NCAA, our good friends at the NCAA. And guess what? They've hired a spin doctor.
Yeah, well, when you have nothing, you got to try something.
So here's the story. So Charlie Baker, when he was governor of Massachusetts, he had basically a spin doctor, a guy who was in charge of PR for him named Buckley, and Tim Buckley. And Tim was invited after Baker moved to the NCAA. He invited him to come work for him at the NCAA. Buckley decided to do it, though he had no background and knowledge or understanding of the NCAA or of college sports, but he decided to get involved. So one of the big things they did recently is they decided to let me read you the quote. We are trying to use our resources more intelligently on the communication staff and try to redirect it from some of the maybe more inward focused stuff and use some of their time and effort to support these championships. So when he says more inward focused stuff, he means the NCAA's punitive function. In other words, when they hand out penalties, they don't necessarily want that to be just as publicly talked about as some of the other things that they're doing. That's the inwardly focused stuff. So what they did is they moved those announcements away from their primary Twitter account, which has over 2 million followers, to a PR account that has only 66,000 followers. Now, between you and me, anything that they're going to put out there is going to get retweeted, and the NCAA is still going to get the attention that they probably don't want to get. But it is a little bit of a shenanigan, if you ask me, to hide their NCAA infractions. Because, oh, by the way, this is what the NCAA does. This is their whole reason of being set up, was to do enforcement when the associations, the institutions, the colleges, the students, that's why they're here. So for them to say they're going to focus inwardly, I'm not buying it.
So let me get this right. You have a group that their whole job is to enforce the rules of the organization that you're representing, and you are hiding that from the organization in a way that, from the optics of it, seems like, don't look at this, but look at that. That's not best practices. That comes from a more nefarious place of, like, we need to change how people look at us, view us, and given how many times they have been in the headlines, and for the majority of that, it's all been negative. They are trying to spin it, and I think that the hard part for them is like they are working in a 1.0 type of world, and they're going against an AI machine that is 5.0, and they're playing from behind, and it is only going to get worse for them. And I mean, you can bring as many spin doctors as you want into this conversation, but the truth will come out, and it is like, you have an agency with over 600 employees, and your whole job is to enforce stuff and not spin stuff.
Yeah. Well,
And
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I just think it speaks to the hypocrisy of what they're doing. It's, a lot of fingers are being pointed at them for a reason, because of their inability to get stuff done, inability to protect the athletes, inability to, do the one thing that's being asked of them, is govern the sports.
Yeah. Well, let's think back in August when Baker was kind of getting his feet on the ground and had all this work to go do, and how they were going to start down the path with Congress. Remember, Congress back then wasn't caught up in some of the craziness that they're caught up in now. But instead of him just going directly and kind of pushing that agenda forward, they went on that 3-week tour and started visiting all those campuses and having all these interactions with these colleges, so that he hit 43 college campuses. Well, I guess they're still in the middle of doing this. They're going to do it by the end of November. But, he spent a lot of time and energy having these talks with college kids and asking them if they really wanted to become student athlete employees. He seemed to speak on their behalf and say, hey, I've talked to all of these kids and not a one of them wants to be an employee. Of course, I'd rather hear it from the kids rather than from him. But, this to me is where NCAA just they don't understand it. Charlie Baker is just not the right guy to be in this position. He's almost a little too aloof to me. He's not the kind of guy on the front lines that I think the NCAA could have used in this situation. But let's talk about what I think is the real example of how tone deaf they can be. So one of the incidents that they've had recently is around enforcement. Is there was a kid who had gone through 2 different universities, Tez Walker, and he was trying to jump again to North Carolina. And it set off this huge, basically the NCAA wasn't going to allow it. They were going to enforce the fact that he did not, they had tightened the transfer guidelines, and basically they were denying a 2-time transfer for immediate eligibility because he couldn't present compelling physical or mental health reasons. Well, our good friend, former coach, UT coach Mac Brown, got upset, whether it was rightly or wrongly, but he did a public statement that basically attacked the NCAA and the UNC athletic director, Bubba Cunningham. Boy, that's a name. Bubba Cunningham from UNC. He echoed that and said, yep, we don't like it. And instead of taking it back behind closed doors, NCAA decided to push back with their own statement and how their committee members were being subjected to violent and possibly criminal threats. So here we go. We're airing dirty laundry in front of everyone to see. That is not a good look for anyone. Certainly if you have a spin doctor that's trying to keep that out of the public eye or keep that from getting ugly, they lost on that one. Their new hire, back in 2019, their communications director talked about some of the stress that she was going through because of the challenges of educating about enforcement, which again is just blah, blah, blah stuff. And then lo and behold, the NCAA reverses their decision and they go ahead and approve based on new information that they didn't have. Not a good look, not a great way for the NCAA to handle this. And when you're trying to win over a public who is kind of tired of the politics in a lot of these situations, you didn't do yourself any favors there.
Yeah. So when I think of, I'm hired to do a job, whatever that job is. I need to go and do that job. And, the job of the NCAA is to, with regards to the enforcement of the rules, is to enforce the rules that are there, right?
Yep.
That's, I mean, without even looking in their mission statement, I guarantee you there's some verbiage that looks like that. And so, to that point, when whatever the rule was for Tez, when he came into that situation, you may not like it, but if it's the rule, it's the rule. And that's what I'm, as a fan, as a person that, works with and alongside the NCAA. That's what my expectation is that you're going to enforce that rule. Otherwise, why are you there? I mean, you literally, why are you there? This isn't a living document. This is a black and white document that is supposed to be, if you do this, this is this is granted. This is not. There's no interpretation. There's no, whatever. It's you make it black and white for a reason. And then if you're in charge of being that enforcement component, then you enforce it.
Yeah.
Here's nobody likes being the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part of this that just drives me nuts is like, well, they don't like us. It's not about whether they like you. Being the policeman, being the enforcer is never a popular job sometimes,
Yeah.
because nobody likes to be told no. But I mean, you're dealing with millions, billions of dollars in these equations, and what might work for one person, well, it may not work for you.
Yeah.
And that's the part that just drives people nuts. And I mean, Coach Brown, he for so long, he was they're good kids. We're so proud of them. We
Yeah.
love them up. I mean, he has been that guy that people have looked to and trusted. And he's pissed. I'd be pissed too if it was one of my athletes. I'd
Yeah.
be fighting for him, and that's what he's doing. And so, the NCAA just needs to do their job. Period.
Yeah, they have a weakened hand. They are not once the overseer and the enforcement body that they used to be. This looks bad on them. It absolutely should have been handled behind closed doors. Even if Mac Brown had made the statement, something didn't go well there, whether it's a lack of communication or, maybe there's just the attitude that the NCAA is, I think of Mac as someone who's a little bit of a businessman who would probably have preferred to handle it differently. He seems to be pretty calm and collected most of the time when he was here. And I think that the NCAA did something that you and I don't know the backstory to, but for them to have this incident kind of raised to the level that it did, it means there's something more to the story. Now, what the biggest problem for them is their spin doctor's not working. Charlie Baker's not getting anything done, and they're in a quagmire, and it's a complete mess. So, it is what it is. Unfortunately, right now, the way our athletes, our communities are looking at it, our parents need to look at it is, you know what, that's the tornado that you just want to stay away from. Let's focus on what the local rules are, what the local guidelines are, how you can work with coaches, how you can work with the social media platforms and do things according to what we know works today, and just keep yourself informed.
Education is key, right? And control your narrative, and don't get involved in those other narratives that are just going to bring you down.
We all have hectic lives, and moving is just a huge chaotic mess. If you are moving to this state, this city, what would you need to get comfortable? Even if you live in town and this is your home purchase or home sell, how would you want to be treated? Chris Ott with the Ott Group of Keller Williams Realty has been a longtime friend and was the guy who worked with me to find the perfect property solution. When I needed a real estate company knowledgeable on the Austin area, Chris Ott and Teresa Boasso with the Ott Group helped me with my house search needs. Chris and Teresa have helped thousands of people move. The Ott Group family is celebrating 35 years in business in Austin real estate. Their mantra is "Your move matters," and that is what they focus on. Having the Ott Group of Keller Williams Realty and their team of talented professionals assist me in every step with my search was the only way to get it done. Just go to theottgroup.com and get connected with the Austin real estate team dedicated to taking care of you. Ott, spelled O-T-T. Go to their website, theottgroup.com, and see how they can make your move easy.